Tonight, in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinox Television, the Mamfe Central Market and GBHS Kusala in the southwest region of the country visited by flames between last night and the early hours of this morning. Also, we take you to Manu, still in the southwest region where there is general fear amongst local inhabitants after the reinforcement of security forces. In the second part of this newscast, we are going to be evaluating activities in the lower and upper houses of Parliament as the November session of Parliament ends tomorrow. Those are headlines. Stay with us. We shall be right back. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us in this edition of the primetime newscast on Equinox Television. A gang of bandits who have been terrorizing inhabitants of Lokbesu, that is a neighborhood in the Douala Free subdivision, have been dismantled, or the gang has simply been dismantled. Two of the hoodlums fell into the dragnet of elements of the police. That was a few days ago. They were displayed to the public and media men and women in the economic capital Douala. Today, Smart Njikan Gabriel, who was at the judicial police, he brought back the following report.
20 out of the 21 bottles of gas stolen from a store at Lokbesu have been recovered by the elements of the judicial police in Bonanjo. Mfopong Alasa, aged 27, and Yumbu Alfred, 38 years old, are the unfortunate two in the gang of four that broke into a construction store situated at Lokbesu and made away with the bottles of gas. The group of four, we were told by the law enforcement officers, operated in the night of Thursday 7th, breaking Friday 8th December 2017, when the owner of the store, one Mr. Raymond, traveled to the village. Aided by a pincer and a nail remover, they succeeded in making away with 21 gas bottles packed in the taxi driven by Fopong Alasa. A confrontation between the alleged thieves and the police from Makepe Petit Pays ended up at Makepe Misoke, where two out of the four bandits were arrested. As the two faced justice before moving to their new home at the New Bell prison, investigations are ongoing to track down the runaway two members of the gang.
Simanjikan Gabriel, they're reporting. A day would hardly go by without a fire incident being reported in Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Last night, GBHS Kosala was for the second time visited by flames, while over 12 shops have been reduced to ashes. That is at the Mamfe Central Market. It left traders in total shock and consternation. Innocent Aze is going to be telling us in the following report that it is happening at the time when security is being beefed up in the southwest region of the country. His report.
Two fire disasters hit the southwest region of Cameroon in less than 24 hours, with the latest being the Mamfe Central Market, visited by flames at about 5 a.m. Tuesday. At least 12 shops were razed by the inferno. Affected traders running to the scene only had tears to shed as they incurred fabulous losses. The devastation was blamed on the absence of a firefighting unit around the locality. The population struggled with the assistance of security officials to quench the flames. Before this incident, Government Bilingual High School Kosala in Kumba was again visited by white flames Monday. The target, the administrative block. It saw the destruction of the principal's office for the second time in 3 months, with documents entirely ravished. It occurred when a large fraction of the population was already asleep. It is worth mentioning that the principal's office was hosted by a section of the school after its first arson attack. Unfortunately, this was not a viable measure to protect the hearts of the administration. However, many people are still astonished as to how such an arson attack on an educational establishment prevails despite high militarization or deployments of security forces in Kumba, Manfi, and of course, the entire southwest region.
We now bring to you this special story in Manu. Since security was reinforced in that part of the southwest region, the people in Tinto, Bakebe and Manfi are now living in fear, and they are living in fear. They say that their safety is not guaranteed despite the presence of forces of law and order. The blocking of the road leading to Manfi, the road that is linking Bamenda and Kumba, was a huge blow to local inhabitants. That was last week. David Simaimo was on a special assignment in Manu. He tells us more in the following report.
This is the junction between Upper Bayang in Tinto subdivision and Lower Bayang, Manfi subdivision, all in Manu division in the southwest region. It is equally the main road to Bamenda in the northwest region. Equinox team heading to Manfi was stopped here for security purpose after we were told that the situation in Manfi escalated in the wee hours of the 8th of December 2017. Information we gathered from those who succeeded in leaving Manfi say clash broke out between government security forces and some unknown persons after a gendarmerie brigade was attacked. There have been casualties from both sides after serious exchange of live bullets for close to 4 hours. Some civilians were equally caught by stray bullets and are receiving treatment in hospitals in Manfi.
I live in Manfi. I did not sleep the whole night. It is very unfortunate the incident that happened. I don't encourage killings. No. What happened was bad. Let dialogue take place very fast before the situation gets out of hand. What is happening like this will destroy our country, this beloved country of ours. We want dialogue, meaningful dialogue.
The decree of the situation in Manfi is clear, as the SGO for Manu, neither the first or second assistant SGO was present to officiate at the Tinto Council budgetary session for 2017. The council session started late after the divisional officer for Tinto subdivision in Upper Bayang, Likumbe Nafongo Vincent, was called to sit in for the SGO. The mayor of Tinto, in his opening address, called for a minute of silence as he confirmed some persons have lost their lives in Manfi.
We're out there to defend us and our property. So let us rise for a minute of silence and solidarity. May their souls rest in perfect peace. Amen.
Though Upper Bayang in Tinto subdivision is witnessing some relative calm, the people of Bakibe, the junction town, admitted of the present situation in Manfi and say it is having a negative effect on their lives in Upper Bayang.
We don't have any problems here, but as you can see everywhere, everything is moving. I'm going to the farm. We are calm this week because there is no trucks of army here except our Jagams to go. It affects us because Manfi is our health center that we live there. We buy and come out and sell. Because of that, we cannot buy because we cannot sell. We cannot even eat. Our children are not feeling well there because they are schooling there. So they are indoors. Pay school fees for nothing last year, they're ready to this year, they're ready to, so it's not going. Now, business is not going through because of that, so we are suffering. We have no liberty, no freedom, no anything. We are just like animals in the bush.
See how the common man is suffering. We are suffering. The whole of this, we're supposed to go to Manfi now, but there's no way. And the more people are there, we are not happy. So no government see into the crash, see the situation.
Being a junction town, the Bakibe people say heavy military presence is in Manfi.
Have you seen military trucks going to Manfi?
More than enough.
Like how many trucks?
Last week, saw more than 8, 7 passing.
Everything being equal, the people of Manu division pray for relative calm to prevail.
Feeling that the government should at least proceed to the situation. So our proposal is to remove those armies, then to dialogue. Because we down here we are suffering. Yeah, to me like this, I'm a common man. I don't know because I was preparing this morning to go to Manfi. I cannot go to Manfi. I cannot get there because of this situation. So at least the government should at least to sit and dialogue.
All we want the peace. But before we have this peace, the government should withdraw the troops after withdrawing the troops, so that when the troops will not go there, those people will not enter and begin to slaughter people as if they are goods. So all what we want after the troops, the government will withdraw the troops, and then peace will reign.
Everything being equal, the people of Manu division as a whole are praying that peace should reign. Davidson Maimu, Equinox chief on special assignment in Manu division, southwest region of the country.
And the November session of Parliament is drawing to an end. That is going to be tomorrow, when the Anglophone crisis has neither been discussed at the upper or lower house of Parliament. All efforts by SDF MPs and senators have yielded very little or no fruits. It was an unprecedented parliamentary session marked by chaotic scenes of demonstrations, particularly by SDF MPs. Babla Jonathan has a review of the November session of Parliament.
A hot, noisy, violent and flame-consuming November parliamentary session in Cameroon. The troubles started on day 1, November 14. The opening ceremony was boycotted by Social Democratic Front SDF members of parliament. They rather converged on the Central Regional Party office in Yaoundé to map out strategies to get the Anglophone crisis discussed in parliament. One day later, November 16, wild flames ravaged a greater section of the 7th floor main building of the lower house of parliament. 5 floors were affected. Commission meetings scheduled for November 17 were suspended. SDF parliamentarians began unveiling their plans to press for the Anglophone crisis to be included on the agenda of the budgetary session of Parliament November 23rd. They disrupted proceedings in the hemicycle, vowing that business will not continue in Parliament if the Anglophone crisis is not discussed as a matter of urgency. In the midst of distress songs being chanted by SDF members of Parliament, some bills were adopted by House Speaker Kavayege Jibril and his peers of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement (CPDM) political party. On the same day, senators of the Social Democratic Front sent a letter to Senate President Marcel Njifenji urging him to include the socio-political tension in the northwest and southwest regions on the agenda for discussion in the upper house of Parliament. Senator Jean Soumelu, SDF Senate Parliamentary Group President, raised the issue at the Senate to no avail. Senate President Marcel Njifenji had earlier invited him and 4 of his comrades into his office before the start of deliberations in a bid to water down the anticipated strike action, but the talks failed. The SDF members of Parliament protest move got into high gear November 29. They disrupted the presentation of Cameroon's 2018 economic, financial, social and cultural program by Prime Minister Philip Mondiang. The Prime Minister, however, continued with his over an hour presentation in a noisy atmosphere. All attempts by Minister Gregoire Wuna, representative of Minister Amadou Ali in charge of relations with the assemblies, to quell down the protest move were fruitless. Commission meetings, however, unfolded hitch-free. Ministers defended their budgetary allocations at the Finance and Budget Commission. SDF MPs were among those who scrutinized the 4,513.5 billion francs CFA state budget, but when the time came for adoption, the plenary sitting turned violent, leading to bloodshed. In anger, a member of parliament of the Cameroon Democratic Union CDU political party, Honorable Patricia Toumani Ndamjoya, flung an object into the center of the hemicycle, which wounded a member of parliament of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement from the Northwest region, Honorable Walang Richard, on his head. The opposition MPs stood against the adoption of the finance bill for several hours, compelling House Speaker Kavayege Jibril to suspend the session. The bill was finally adopted late into the night. The adoption has certainly drawn the curtain on the 2017 legislative year as the MPs look forward to the closing ceremony Wednesday, December 13.
And our guest tonight is going to be evaluating happenings at the November session of Parliament, which ends tomorrow. It's going to be in the second part of this newscast. Now, as the global call for the immediate and unconditional release of Patrick Ganang continues, it should be noted that one of the charges levied against the detained civil society activists has been dropped. The charge concerning death insult against the President of the Republic or on his personality has been taken off the list of charges that were levied against him. He's now been persecuted or prosecuted for 3 charges, including death threat against the President of the Republic, clandestine immigration and forgery. He was due to appear before the public prosecutor yesterday but did not come out of the judicial place in Yaoundé. His custody was prolonged for 48 hours. Patrick Ganang's interrogation was expected to continue today. His lawyer, Barrister Emmanuel Sims, said that he does not understand why the police is still insisting on having the passwords of his client's computer and mobile phone, which he said he is strongly against. And now we talk sports football. The economic impact of the defeat of UMS of Loom, the defeat that is having an adverse impact on the economy of UMS of Loom, or Loom rather, in the Mongo division of the littoral region of Cameroon. Business operators or business persons rather, like bar owners, are complaining that the businesses, their activities are extremely slow as a result, just after their local team was defeated at the end of the football season in the nation's capital. Katran Kone has the details in the following report.
The 2017 Cup of Cameroon has come and gone, but the town of Loom in the Mongo division of the littoral region is now leaking negative economic consequences. The defeat of UMS of Loom has negatively affected more than just the team. Business persons had invested in money-making ventures as they anticipated a victory for UMS, whom they were confident would crush New Stars of Douala. In the street of Loom, the usual hustling and bustling businesses that goes on in town bars is now history. They are yet to come from the reality that they lose to New Stars of Douala.
Nous sommes très déçus parce qu'on a stocké la boisson pour la fête et puis on se retrouve avec une défaite comme ça là.
Owners of drinking sport had refilled their stock as a victory of UMS could have brought more than the usual number of people out from their homes to drink and make merry. Even those roasting fish and meats complained of the slowdown in their businesses. The defeat of UMS of Loom comes as a shock to the population, who were more than confident that their darling club would crush New Stars of Douala.
And that does it for this first segment of the news. Up next is Talking Point. We shall be right back. Our guest tonight is a common law lawyer, Senior Barrister Ashu Agbo. Emmanuel, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Good evening, Mimi.
Now, the November session of Parliament ends tomorrow, and starting today we are going to be evaluating activities at the National Assembly and also the Senate, which is the upper house of Parliament. Barrister, this has been one of the tens of all the plenary sittings that Cameroon has ever had. For the first time since the start of the Anglophone crisis, we saw how SDF MPs were insisting that the House must bring the Anglophone crisis to the table. Can we say that is the beginning of a new era at the National Assembly in Cameroon?
Well, I think that what we saw was not just the CPDM, the SDF MPs clamoring for the Anglophone question to be debated in Parliament, but something rather spectacular that we saw, the Speaker of the National Assembly decreeing the budget, national budget as voted, whereas there was no vote. You see, so, I mean, this is something really rather historic. For there to be a vote, we know the various types of ballots. That thing was taking place before the eyes of the camera, and we saw nobody vote. I mean, there was no call for an open ballot or a secret ballot. In fact, even the clapping came after the pronouncement of the budget having been voted.
Adopted.
So I think That was totally illegal. There was absolutely no vote. Well, as for the Anglophone question, you see that the behavior of the CPDM parliamentarians just shows the position of the government, which is being echoed by these parliamentarians who don't want to listen to the people's cry. And as you rightly said, what the SDF parliamentarians were doing reflects the mind of the people, because we are going to have a new parliament in 2018, especially as there will be questions that will be lingering over the head of the CPDM parliamentarians, because that party will have to prove its legitimacy. It's not like other parties that are legalized. CPDM was counting on the fact that the law said legally existing political parties need not be legalized. But you look at the history, you see that CPDM has never been legalized by any law or decree. Never. CPDM was CNU that became CPDM. And CNU itself was the will of President Ahmadu Ahidjo. It was not created by any decree. So as a consequence, nobody can say CPDM is a legal political party. So we are certainly going to have a new parliament that will be devoid of the CPDM people.
Barrister, that's obviously going to be debate for another day. Talking about the reaction of the other CPDM MPs, like you earlier indicated, do you think they could do more than what they did?
They ought to have done more, because
CPDM
parliamentarians represent the national territory. They represent the national territory, and this is a matter. Nobody should tell me that a matter that has been going on for more than 1 year is not a matter of national interest. If the President of the Republic can decree that troops should be sent to the Anglophone region, it means that there's something serious. If there is this thing serious, the President first of all had recognized that the problems posed by the Anglophone community were legitimate. Now, even after the solutions that the government claimed to have taken have not worked, it is high time that people sit down to see how we can come out with a solution.
The Senate President promised to
talk about but as you have
the Anglophone crisis,
as you can see
during the meeting,
as you can see, it was just
possibly he might get to talk about it tomorrow.
It was just a means, in my opinion, it was a means of shoving the question aside.
Does it mean that the final solution lies in the hands of the President of the Republic? Because if at the level of the Senate, those are one of the biggest institutions that we have in Cameroon, if they cannot discuss the Anglophone crisis like the SDF MPs are clamoring for, don't you think the problem is at the level of the President?
The final solution, in my opinion, lies in the hands of God, because the President has already opted for the military solution. So how do you think he will come back on that solution to adopt anything else? It's only God who will have to save Cameroon out of this.
And now the November session of Parliament, this was the 4th time, but very, very chaotic, as we heard Babla Jonathan indicating in his report. What image does it give of the Social Democratic Front as the principal opposition in Cameroon?
Well, I'm sorry to say this of another opposition party, but the SDF parliamentarians have for once stood up for the people and done what was expected of them. They have stood up for the people. For all this time they have been lying dormant, but at last they have stood up to do what they were elected to go and do. That is, represent the people.
So you are quite positive about
that was a very good. That was a very good attitude put up by the SDF. They are there to represent the people. I even see that the people have been suffering for more than 1 year, and the government doesn't want to apply good solutions. It is their place to raise this question.
And the next parliamentary session is going to become in March 2018. Do you think that is going to the Anglophone crisis is going to be given a place? Maybe we can see something different during the March session.
It will be given a place if the government has had a change of hearts. Because if the government does not have a change of hearts.
Looking at happenings during this November session of Parliament, can it have an impact in the March session come 2018?
No. What will have an impact? Because it's going to be
the electoral year too in Cameroon.
I think that what is going to have an impact is the government's position, because you can see that the CPDM parliamentarians seem to be obeying instructions they received from their hierarchy. And since the hierarchy is getting instructions from the government, because it is their party that is in power, I don't see any change, except their government decides to have a change of heart.
Meaning that you shouldn't expect so much from them.
No miracle.
Now, there was an important mixed control in some parts of the southwest region of the country. Today, precisely in Boyatiko, Moyoka, we have other localities where there was an important control of police and gendarmerie officials. The move is coming after the population of Manyu is living in perpetual fear. We saw the report of Davis Maimo, who was on special assignment in Manyu. What is your evaluation of the military strategy so far as the crisis is concerned?
Well, the government said there was no militarization. They said it was secularization and not militarization. And I asked myself, but if you start using units like BIM, which is the French abbreviation for Bataillon d'Infanterie Motorisée, Motorized Infantry Brigade, how do you call that secularization? They are using the army. It's not only BIM, the D is there. So you see, I think all this is totally illegal, because we have in this country a law that governs the maintenance of law and order, and that law is very clear. The use of arms is prohibited by the law. They say the security officers are supposed to use loudspeakers and tear gas, not even blank bullets. The only case where they are authorized to use bullets is where they have sustained fire, armed fire coming from the other side. We have never had that type of situation. What we have here is a number of gangsters who attack security forces. I repeat, a number of gangsters, because nobody has ever shown us any army against which our soldiers are fighting. Nobody. These are citizens who take the law into their hands and go killing soldiers. The National Human Rights Committee was not foolish to ask that the government should investigate those killings. That is a point that ought to have enabled this government to look closely. There are no fighters, there is no army on the other side that will be sending our army to go and fight. What really baffles me is that we have a president who took the oath of office to defend the Constitution, defend life and property. And I find it really unconscionable that our president should have, after having taken that oath to defend life and property, send the army to fight against its own population. See, it really looks
and the situation of fire incidents when the region is highly secured.
As I said, it is a number of
briefly, Barrister, before we go,
it's a number of citizens who are criminally minded, like the one who was arrested in Kumbo. You can see when they do lay hands on those people,
they are just suspects, Barrister.
Well, they lay hands on a suspect, and you see that this is not a member of any army. It's a criminal who is an arson. He goes out to burn houses. It's a criminal. It's a common law criminal. That does not qualify what he has done as an act of war. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, Barrister. We hope to have you some other time again.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much. To our televiewers, it was a pleasure having you with us in this edition of the news. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.